think kind of the heart of the issue of how are you going to do this Constitution is how do you choose people to be there? And I believe it must be more like a jury system where you take people's names. The auditor can match those for the demographics of the state, but I do not believe it should be a delegate system where you're just having people running for office then to go to another convention. So once again, I applaud the Bay Area Council for bringing this forward and Senator DeSaulnier for bringing this forward. He's been a leader on this issue, and I do believe it's time to bring us back to California. As I mentioned, many states are doing this. It's not unusual. It's a healthy thing to do. It's not a long process, probably 2 or 3 months. And I look forward to urging fellow Californians to sign up and get it on the ballot. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Assemblyman. Just a couple of things to point out is we agree it's going to be difficult to get 2/3 of each house, and we're fully preparing to go to the ballot with a pair of initiatives in November 2010 in the event that the legislature can't come up with the 2/3 of each house to do this. And we think we can do that, and we'll have the ballot language in place within a couple of months to do it, and we're still taking input on that. I also want to say, and I was reminded by my friends at the New America Foundation, that this is the new media give us an amazing opportunity to create an inclusive process. Before, it would be very, very hard, impossible for a huge state like California to really hear input from and massage information from such a large population base. Today we can do it, and the new website that we're rolling out today, www.repaircalifornia.org, will give the opportunity for any Californian or group of Californians or interest to participate in this process. So it can be a wholly inclusive process, the kind that Robert Cruikshank of the Courage Campaign defined. So we move forward from here. We're excited about this. California is a great place. All we need to have is a working government in the state. Some say it's ungovernable. We don't think so. It's entirely governable. We just need a system that's a modern age system to do it, and we're going to need to make some serious changes to the institution called Sacramento in order to get there, and there's no reason we can't do that if we put our hearts and minds to it. So with that, I'd like to open it up for questions for me or any of the folks who spoke.
Voters have just rejected a series of very complicated measures on the ballot. You're proposing that they set something that's even more complicated than far reach. You basically asking them to take a vote.
Yeah, what we think the voters rejected was the state government of California as it currently exists. What we're proposing is a new form of government, a new process initiated and created and brought to the voters of California by the voters of California. A process that won't take a couple of months where, one day you turn on your TV set and there's a commercial, and then a month later you're expected to vote on something you don't understand. This is a constitutional convention. It's a process we, the people, will own. It will take at least a series of months to take place. People will have a chance, maybe once in a lifetime chance, to actually educate people about how their government works. Senator DeSaulnier explained much of the problem that we have has been through a series of voter initiatives that have taken places over the decades, which have tied the hands of government. People don't understand that. They need to understand it. So they need to understand certain changes that need to take place in the initiative process. They wouldn't vote for that if we just put it on the ballot before them today. They need to understand it. They need to get angry about it. They need to debate it, and they need to finally come to an understanding that what is not working, and what could work can be.
But if it was the voters partially through the initiative process and approving initiatives that got us here in the first place, why go to the voters now to rewrite the Constitution?
While well-intended, the initiatives that have taken place over the last several generations have not together produced the kind of results that have worked for the state. They've tied the hands of the government. They've put money into pockets where, in order to get it out, you have to go back to the voters. These things have been largely promulgated by well-moneyed special interest groups that don't have the general interest of the public in mind. They have the interest of their interest in mind. This is different. This is promulgated by the people of California. The special interest will be enabled to have their input, but at the end of the day, this is going to be a people's process. And we think, frankly, with the distrust that exists about state government, only a process that's driven by and for the people is going to be accepted by the public, and I think that's the secret sauce to this. Let's face it, in this dog won't hunt anymore, and the people get that. It's time for a new government. We're going to have to do something to bring it to them. The Constitutional Convention provides that opportunity.
Let me ask you, you keep referring to the people as a unified mass. Now last year we had Prop 8, which was an amendment to the Constitution that divided this state and is now in the courts and nobody is in agreement on it. Why should they turn around and agree to a Constitution entirely?
Because what we're proposing to do is not rewrite the entire Constitution of California. It is to rewrite those sections that deal with the governance of the state, how we elect people so that we have a representative government people can trust again, how we perform a budget. So instead of having 19 out of 23 years of delayed budget, we can have a budget on time every year. We want to talk about the fiscal relationships that exist between the state government and local districts, counties and cities and school districts that actually provide 95% of the services that people receive. And we want to make sure that at the end of the day, we have a management system so that people feel that when they provide a tax dollar to Sacramento, they're getting at least $1 worth of service out of that contribution, so that they might be a little bit more open to investing in the future of the state. We're not talking about having a constitutional convention for every social issue that might currently or in the future be in the Constitution of California. We don't want to discuss that, and we think legally we can frame this, and we intend to, so that only those issues that deal with the governance of the state are on the table for the delegates.
Jim, given what happened yesterday, I mean, I realize getting something on the ballot is expensive, but why ask the legislature to put something on the ballot? Won't voters be skeptical of anything the legislature would put on the ballot, as opposed to, say, going out and getting signatures to put this constitutional convention on?
The legislature has been elected by the people to do a job. And the comments I've heard so far have been from the legislative leadership have been pretty contrite. And they said, you know, we hear the voters loudly. It's time for us to do their job. Let's let them do their job. And in this case, doing their job is to take a step back, as the senator said, and put this in the hands of the people and enable the people to come up with the next system. Let the legislators step back. Regardless of whether we, as the citizens, put it on, and that's probably what will happen, or whether the legislators do it, it will be a people's process. It will be non-legislative delegates to a constitutional convention. And it'll be people like us from all walks of the state, from all ethnicities, from all age groups, from all genders, who are going to be participating in this, and that will be easy for people to see. It'll finally have a process people can trust.
How can you assure that's going to happen?
We'll make sure in the language of the authorizing amendments that has to happen. I mean, first of all, we have a Voters' Rights Act, and so there'll be requirements that it happen whether anybody thought it should or not. But obviously, in a state that is the most diverse in the country, probably the most diverse place in the world, you would have a constitutional convention that reflected the power of that diversity. The diversity that exists in the state has been said to be one of our challenges, one of our detractors. Well, it's a challenge, but it's also our greatest opportunity. It's what makes us competitive. And so we think that's a great thing. It'll create much better ideas, broader ideas, better results.
If I could just jump in for a second now that the cameras have left. You know, this is the vehicle allowed to states to look at a holistic change in how they govern. Other states do it all the time. It's not that revolutionary. So if we want to talk about the initiative system, we can do it incrementally, and that's the criticism, is we've tried that, it hasn't worked. So this is the vehicle that allows us, by federal statutes and by guidelines from federal courts, that allows all of the citizens to be engaged. And when they're done, nothing is confirmed that their work product, it has to be approved by the voters. So all we're looking at is this is the vehicle given to us. It's prescribed, it's done in other states, and we think it's way past time that we do it in this state.
Is there a much simpler solution here?
No, I don't think so, because the issues...
Get rid of the two-thirds vote requirements?
I think that's part of it. For me personally, I think that's part of it. But
that's what really holds everything up.
No, I don't necessarily agree with that, because you still have the initiative process, in my view, and the tax structure and the providing of services, that even if the Democrats had control, which I would like, with all due respect to the colleagues of the Republican Party, I would like majority power for majority party. That's one thing. But that's for the convention to look at. We could look at that separately. But even having that, there are still systemic problems that would have to deal with vis-a-vis the initiative system, the tax system, and how we provide for services, in my view.
And you really think voters are going to accept major changes in the initiative process? They've rejected them all along.
I think after a robust constitutional convention, they'd be more likely. And I think the Public Policy Institute has done polls that showed that the public's starting to figure out they like the initiative system, but they know something's amiss. And that tells me that they'd be favorable to this kind of exercise. couldn't help myself.
No,